Cheers. It's just a record for somebody to get to. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Kingston Planning Board meeting. My name is Suzanne Cahill. I'm the Planning Director for the City of Kingston. I want to just start with a few quick announcements before the meeting. I ask that if you do have a cell phone, that you put it on silent so that it doesn't interfere with the meeting. If you have any conversations amongst yourselves that are not with the planning board, I just ask that you take them outside of the room. The council chambers are available, and there is another conference room on the opposite side of the chambers if you'd like more privacy. Bathrooms are through the chambers. Once you're through, men's are to the left, women's are to the right. In case of emergency, we do ask that you please use the stairs and not the elevator. If you need assistance, just let us know and we will help you. Also, I want everybody to please be aware that this meeting is being live streamed and it is also being recorded. So I just ask that we respect that and respect other speakers. And with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Chairman Platt to introduce the board members and start the meeting at 6:01 p.m.
Thank you, Suzanne. Introductions, as Sue mentioned, I'm Wayne Platt. We have also Charles Polacco, Matt Gillis, Vince Archer, and Andrew Harris. Tyler D-Day is our assistant planner. Matthew Jankowski is the assistant corporation counsel. And Alderwoman Sarah Pasty is the common council liaison to the planning board. Welcome. Item number 1 on the agenda is the adoption of the September 15, 2025 planning board meeting minutes. This time we'll make a motion that we approve it. Everybody's had a chance to take a look at them. Any deletions, additions? Okay, so that is a motion. Do I have a second on that? Second by Chuck Polacco. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, moving into public. Yes, we have, here I have scribbled them all out here, right? We have missing board members tonight are Robert Jacobson, Sage Newkirk, and Kyra Grundig. Okay, moving into public hearings. Item number 2 is 411, 413-415 Albany Avenue, and 52-54 Manor Place. It's lot line revision of the lands of Amaral Properties, LLC. Section block and lot is 48.302-2-11. 48.73-3-28 and 48.302-2-10.2. It's in Transect Zone T4N-0, Ward 6. Michael Bateri, PLLC, is the applicant. Amaral Properties LLC is the owner. Anybody besides the owner, an applicant wishing to speak on item number 2? Michael, how are you?
Very well. You did a great introduction, so you took away my first paragraph.
Okay, well.
So anyway, as most of you know, this is the Simpson Funeral Home, Albany Avenue, Manor Place in the rear. It comprises of 3 lots. We are now turning it into 4 lots with proposal of moving the lines in the rear here to split this up as evenly as possible. We plan on removing impervious surfaces, building, and the lamppost out on this side along Manor Place. We have a series of dry wells on the site. Depending on how the board looks at that, we can either remove the dry wells, as we will have much more pervious surface moving forward. That was something Sue and I spoke about this morning. Otherwise, it's pretty cut and dry. We have added a proposed pervious surface here in order to create the 70% maximum coverage that we needed for lot number 4. And that's basically the gist of it. We'll connect the water and sewer back here along Manor Place there, and this structure is already serviced off of Albany Avenue.
I was speaking with Sue today. We talked about the brick garage on the plan.
Yep,
That's gonna have to be demolished, removed.
yep,
You're
that's,
probably aware of that.
yeah, that's part of the submittals. We're definitely removing that.
Right, so between the garage and the asphalt pavement, that will have to be all removed prior to the subdivision being filed.
That's how we handle,
Hooker.
yeah, same to the street, correct, yep.
Nothing else jumps out at you, that's it.
No, like, as Mike was saying, one of the things we looked at this morning, we wanted to know, if those drainage structures were interconnected. And Mike went out in the field this morning and confirmed that they are all individual, independent dry wells. There is ironically one left, per lot, for the whole system, and they can stay on site. I do think that the one, potentially on, well, the ones on lot 1 and lot 3 may ultimately be a disturbance of, for future development. You can, what I would suggest is maybe just cap them after you remove all the asphalt. You can leave them in place. And then if they want to reopen them and reuse them, I guess that's possible. I don't know that there will be a need for them in the future.
So you're just talking about because of where the buildings may be placed?
Yeah. So the one is kind of in the very center of the property almost, and the others, somewhat where maybe a garage might be.
That was the old funeral home. Is that going to stay commercial or is that going residential or what's?
They're going residential. They will be residentially developed.
Okay.
So another thing we have spoken to the owner about, is that because there'll be 3 new structures built along Manor Place, we're encouraging very strongly that the architectural standards under the form-based code be used, but that the buildings, he's gonna build the structures, but that he build them with a little bit of variation. That's a recommendation. We can't obviously require it, but we're recommending just to create a streetscape interest, make them a little different, each one.
I think the client's pretty much open to your suggestions too. Like he's mentioned that
Yeah.
via the emails that we've had. He's, if changing facades and so on is required, I don't believe he has any issue with that. He's stated that he would do the same on Hooker, so.
Mhm.
Is there anything in the works right now? Is there spec houses being proposed or?
He's gonna come to you guys with a plan when that time comes. I don't know, it doesn't seem like he's moving forward too fast, but when the time comes, he will come to you with, more of a site plan versus subdivision.
Right, well, if they're 3 family and or less, they don't come back to us. They'll just go.
Go to the building department, correct?
Anything else?
Anything else from the board? Okay, under seeker things. Under seeker, this is a type 2, so no further review of the board is required at this time. Then we've got a laundry list of
So board policy 6, the block garage and asphalt pavement will be removed prior to subdivision being signed and filed. We will require the resultant parcel descriptions to be submitted to staff for review and approval. We'll need 5 paper and 1 Mylar copy signed by the owner before the chairman will sign. The new deeds will be filed along with the map to be recognized at the county. And this is for revised map dated 10/19/25, along with the recommendation that the architectural standards be used for new construction and that some variation of new structures be given to the new structures on Manor.
Glad you said all that. All right, I'll make a motion that we approve item number 2 with all of the conditions and policies that Sue has illustrated. Matt Gillis with a second. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
You too. Take care, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good spot.
Okay, item number 3 is 60 and 64 South Washington Avenue. Special permit to operate an auto-oriented used car business. Section block and lot is 56.40-2-19.1 and 2. Transect zone T3N-0, Ward 5. Vincent Perry is the applicant. Vincent and Sean Perry, the owners. You folks can come up here. Anybody besides the applicant or owner wishing to speak on item number 3?
Okay, I'm requesting that I can move.
Let's let the record show that Vincent Perry is here, so I'm just going to have to put your name into the record.
I'm requesting that I can use my existing New York State license. At this property at 60 and 64 South Washington Avenue in the garage for the purpose of basically for the office. So I can do paperwork.
So you originally had the dealership
I'm
here,
rolling.
here though first, and then you moved it to Broadway?
That was from 60 to 2013.
Yeah,
That was built in 2000.
okay.
So nothing will change here with the exception that I'll be supplying local dealers with vehicles. And occasionally if somebody comes to me for a vehicle, I'll supply that. But under New York State DMV law, I need to have a zoning approval to move my license. And basically that's what it's about. I want to maintain my license with existing insurances and bonds. Because I'm good till 2028 with that, but there'll be minimal foot traffic. Like I said, there'll be no vehicles for display. There'll be mainly an office for paperwork, you know, when I buy and sell vehicles to other dealers.
And I know that in my preliminary discussions with you, you did say that you were not going to have any vehicles really on
So
site.
there's going to be no foot traffic. This is basically, I have to have an office to do the paperwork for New York State.
And then, but ultimately, whatever approval we have to do tonight has to meet with the zoning requirements. If in fact it was going to be a fully operational
Correct.
cars
On
a lot.
per DMV rules.
Yeah, so just if you sell the place, the next guy comes in, you know, that's where we're gonna be concerned with that tonight, making.
No, a question, I mean, is there a sundown where like once I don't own a property that it ceases to exist?
It, the approval, if we do approve,
Yeah.
goes with the property.
Okay, all right.
Unless you-
Special permit though, so change of ownership. Wouldn't require it to come back, they just have to notify us, but the special permit gets renewed periodically, so just, that is a feature. That being said, I mean, I don't anticipate that in the near future, but, and with the renewals, that can be addressed.
Right.
So just a couple quick, so it's just you, correct? You don't
Correct.
have any other
No,
employees?
there'll be no repairs, no,
Prior,
basically I need the office space for paperwork.
right. So no mechanical work,
No.
no washing of vehicles, no oil changing, no, okay.
I mean, it'll be zero footprint, there's gonna be no floor
Right.
traffic.
Okay. So I know we had sent along some comments to you preliminarily.
Mhm.
Have you had a chance to?
Some of it is a little
Those-
overwhelming, to be honest with you. but-
Okay, okay. So a couple of the items we can go through. One is that because the garage, in fact, I know you own both the properties, but the garage sits on one parcel and then access to that is across the other. There will be a need to provide for a cross easement agreement
Sure,
for ingress and egress, and also for the parking, because you are showing some parking on the one parcel to support the garage structure on the second parcel, okay? So cross easements will be something that is going to be required, for those two things. With the parking, the way it's been laid out, in our review, as you might have read, you do need to have, and federal law requires a handicap parking space.
Sure.
All right, so we would suggest that one of the spaces that you have
Mhm.
set up alongside of your, alongside the house at 60,
Yes.
be, dedicated for that and
Yes.
signed for that.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be a recommendation. And then there was a recommendation because you have the garage doors. The way the angled parking is set up. Garage, the one side, the one bay, would effectively be pretty much, inaccessible if that one parking space were right there.
I can move
We
the
were gonna
parking
take
where
that. Yeah,
that's
we're
not,
just gonna
that's
X
not an
that
issue.
off
Yeah.
off the plan altogether.
Yeah.
Right? Next would be that, the code only allows for a certain dimension for ingress and egress curb cut wise. All right, so one of the suggestions at staff level was to take that sort of triangular area along the Pettit Avenue there, where Kyla has her arrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And create, and just open that, remove the pavement there and just make that a grass area or a small landscaped area.
That pulling in?
Yeah, and
Pulling
then
in?
that would help with your sheet draining of your stormwater runoff
Yeah.
as well,
Okay.
okay? Another item that's required by the code is that you do have to have like a screening fencing along the adjacent property line. And I know you have right now,
The neighbor
I
has.
believe it's the neighbor's
Yeah.
fence.
Yes, it is.
So you need to put up sign, there's a couple of trees there, but you need to put up more of a solid fence along that one portion of your property.
Alongside her fence.
Yeah,
Okay.
or you can put shrubs in if you choose. That would be a
All right,
decision,
okay.
as long as it's more of an opaque type of screening, all
Sure.
right?
Sure.
Let's see, the other thing that we did see on the site plan is that there is a container
Yes, there is.
that's now on the property,
Right here.
right there.
Yeah.
Right, that is not allowed under the zoning.
In the city of Kingston?
What is the container, what do you use the container for?
Storage.
Just storage?
Storage.
Okay,
Well,
yeah, that is not shipping containers are not allowed,
okay. So that has to go?
has to go,
Okay.
yeah. All right.
All right.
And I think the last thing that I'm gonna mention, then I'll let the board, ask you a couple questions, whatever. The signage. Now, I know you have to have a sign that has your name and your
Name,
license
phone
number.
number, facility number.
Okay.
For the sake of your garden.
Under the code, because of the transect that you're in more of a residential
Right.
transect, right? So under the code, you're not allowed to have a nameplate larger than 3 square feet. I know, it's
The sign is, what is the sign? 2x3, right? 2x3 is the sign.
right. So you're not allowed to have a wall sign and but you're allowed to have a nameplate that's 3 square feet, which is 1 by 3. It's a lot smaller than what you've got there
The
now.
DMV just wants the name, phone number, and the
So,
facility number.
My thought was, for your purposes, if you're not gonna really be an active kind of sales
Right.
establishment, then you just put a smaller sign up
Sure.
that meets that. And then it's exempt and you're good to go. As long as it's got the information that the DMV needs or your license,
Right.
then that's fine.
What about this? That work. There's it. Okay.
Right, yeah, that's the one we saw.
That
Yeah,
will work, right?
yeah, but it would have to be
A little
smaller.
bit smaller there?
Yeah, it has to be 3 square feet.
Okay.
So the 2 by 3 is 6 square feet, so kind of half of that size. And that's all that I, unless board members have other questions that you'd like to ask Mr. Perry?
Richard covered it.
Huh?
I think you covered it.
Even we could stress the,
Do you have hours of operation that you're thinking of doing, like by appointment? By appointment?
Yeah.
Like up till what time? Like 5 o'clock and be done or? 4? Okay.
This is semi-retired.
And I know there's in the notes here that there's, the board should consider the limitation of the number of vehicles. Did we determine that can't be? Is that just governed by the amount of spaces that are there?
Take out one along the house and one, so there's actually three. There'll be three there.
Okay.
There'll be three left, which 3 spaces outside would be, is that sufficient?
Sure, I mean, is that,
We have to-
vehicles for display.
Yeah, we have to put down something here. So we're going to get the handicap
Plenty of room
spot.
for 3, we take the one out.
Okay. Board's good with that, three cars. And again, even though he's not looking to do that kind of thing, that we're looking to the future, right? Somebody else thinks it over. I know this is good, probably gonna be a lot to remember tonight. I would need to call them too if I was doing this, like the next day. If you have any questions after this, you can, they're there to help you, so. And, a term for the special permit. I mean, typically we do a one year for the first year. Now, is this something that would come to the other board then at the? Was
It would-
it governed by annual?
Yeah, what will happen is, we were gonna wanna talk about doing it to an August date, so.
So
I would
everything comes
suggest like
together
an
at once?
August of 27 date. Or 26 date to start, and then it would come back administratively through the office. You don't come back to the board unless there are changes. If there's any changes, if you want to put an addition on the structure, or if you want to do whatever, then it has to come back to the board.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just office review.
So you're recommending the 2026 then, August of 2026?
Yeah, that'll be just less than 3 years.
Everybody's good with that?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. Under seeker, it's also a type 2 action, so, no further review of the board is required for that. Okay, yeah, please.
Okay, so it would be approved special permit are valid through an August of 2026 date with board policies 4, 4A, 6, and 18. It would be renewed administratively if there are no changes. And the site plan will be updated to provide for a fencing or landscaping suitable to meet code along the adjacent property line with the residential neighbor. The shipping container will be removed. A small landscape area will be added in that triangular area along Pettit to reduce the curb cut and provide for stormwater drainage collection. The parking will be reconfigured as we discussed, adding a handicap parking space with the appropriate signage along the house. The sign for the business will be reduced to 3 square feet. And cross easement agreements will be provided for the access, ingress and egress and parking and display if needed.
Do you have number of cars in there too? Did I not get that?
3 vehicles.
Where's that tilted? Is that behind the garage?
Yeah.
Okay, what Sue has described here, I'm going to put that into the form of a motion to approve item number 3. Andrew with a second on that. Any questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. Thank you, fellows.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Good evening, guys.
Okay, moving on to new business. Item number 4 is 296, 290, and 312-322 East Strand. Site plan to establish a cultural institution in an existing building, section block and lot is 56.36-1-15, 16, and 17. Transect zone SD-W/SD dash WMU. Ward 8, Hudson Valley Irish Cultural Center Incorporated is the applicant owner. Dennis, you want to introduce your team here?
Yeah, I'm Dennis Larios, engineer for the ICC proposal. Scott Dutton, architect for the ICC, and Michael Moriello, attorney. And there's several members of the Irish Culturals here tonight. Ryan, Harry, Ryan, and Bob Hoppe. And did I miss anybody? So thank you.
Okay. We have some visuals behind you. You want to go ahead and
Yeah, this is an interesting site plan because the building is there already and the site improvements are largely there already. And we're not allowed to do much on the property due to DEC restrictions that may sunset in a few years, but right now we're restricted on what we can do on the site as far as excavation and site work. So this is East Strand, the children's home sits up here. This was formerly a Millens recycling operation. Central Hudson owns on the other side of the railroad tracks towards the Rondout. Proposal is to renovate the existing building, which sits at about 7.5 feet above the base flood elevation of the Rondout and Hudson, which is good news. And most of the street frontage here on the East Strand is above the base flood elevation. A lot of the East Strand is not, as you know, but this particular stretch here is at the highest elevation of the Strand. Proposal is there's a rear entrance and vestibule to the building now. The architect is designing a lift and a new stairwell up. And anything in the vestibule, I believe. Scott's here to answer any questions on that. This is all pavement already. We would stripe it, create 2 ADA compliant spaces close to the lift. So we'd have the accessible path into the building from these spaces into the main rear entrance. And that rear entrance would be the main entrance into the building. I think you're probably all aware there's a garage door with a ramp into the building in front. And there's a step up to a door, a couple steps up to a door here in the front off the Strand as well. The only site work we were proposing was to, we're allowed by your code up to 20 spaces. We have 13 existing and we were proposing 7 gravel spaces to be placed with fabric and gravel. So we wouldn't excavate on the site in this location. We understand there's a comment about that as far as we may have to lose 2 spaces to keep that 30-foot offset. We're proposing some modest landscaping, and I would say if allowed by DEC at this time. And I know there's some comments about that. There's a double gate here. And there's a sliding gate here. And there's a sliding gate down here off North Street. Access to the Empire State Trail right now would be down North Street to the trail. And I know there's some comments about that. Beautiful building, and it's got a basement that is not above the base flood elevation, but is not intended for any planned use or improvement. The The improvements inside the building will be described by Scott when you're ready. And we're here to also go through your comments. But if there's any questions out of the gate.
You talked about the DEC, some of their regulations will sunset. What does that entail?
Well, there's a groundwater remediation that's occurred on the site. And there's 3 or 4 wells.
There are 3 wells. There were a total of 17 wells that have now been delisted. There are 3 wells that are under active monitoring presently.
Is that the DEC comes in and takes samples every now and then, or monitor?
Now, we are required, the owner is required to produce a report and send it to the DEC. I think our next report is due date January 15th.
Annually.
But the good news, I think, that Brian can tell you is the results that have come back are favorable.
Yeah, but fortunately, what's happened over the years is that the contamination that were in those wells, this property's been completely remediated. It runs from an uphill location towards the ground out, and the levels of contamination have progressively going down and down every year, to the point where we think that after maybe 2 years, 3 years monitoring, we will be delisted.
So when that occurs, you rip the Band-Aid off and just you can do whatever you want with the property, or you still kind of.
Right now, Wayne, it's listed as a category 4 use on the inactive hazardous waste registry by DEC. That means it can be used for transitory use like this for events or for gatherings, but you couldn't live there. You couldn't live there. We're probably, according to Dean, and I know the board knows Dean Summers is very, very good environmental attorney. He and his partner, Rich Ostrov, were hired by the ICC to look at where things stood with DEC. The permit's been transferred over. We're in compliance with the regulatory factors. Deb Thompson has been working with us too. And I think Dean thinks that within 1 to 3 years, will be completely delisted because those wells now are so close to normal. So
in the meantime, that's a lot of space for them.
we're able to occupy it for this use.
Okay, I mean, if you want to have events over there,
Yeah.
that's allowed.
Yeah.
If you want to put tents up, I mean, you're gonna have to drive something of it. That's okay.
Yeah, as far as the disturbance go, Dean wrote a letter that we used for financing purposes too. In the letter, Dean said, look, as long as you're not disturbing the area, you have no issues at all.
Yeah.
Dennis has designed the plan to have virtually no disturbance. I mean, the only disturbance would be digging 6 inches for landscaping, but if that isn't allowed, we won't do that, until we can. So, but even the parking area, right, Dennis, isn't gonna be done.
Yeah, the other thing is we're proposing 5 LED lights off the back of the building and replacing the light fixture here off the side of the building with a new LED that will provide adequate dark sky level lighting to the site for evening activity. So that's what I meant by sunset, when those numbers meet groundwater standards. The delisting should,
Okay, good.
but it's not an automatic sunset until those
Right.
numbers comply with groundwater standards.
So is there a vapor barrier that's been installed in the site? Like when they removed all the soils, did they put a vapor barrier
I
down?
don't believe so,
and
but I'm not
fresh
familiar with
soil on top?
I'm not familiar with the specifics of the remediation plan. I know there was a lot of removal.
Right.
Whether a vapor barrier went down over the site. I know it didn't go down in this block. But to the east possibly, but I don't believe so.
Where location wise, where are the remaining wells that are being monitored? And then perimeter.
1, 2. Let's see,
Again.
1, 2, 3.
I think you're right. Is one.
Oh, okay.
Of the extremity, okay.
Yeah, they're shown on the plan.
Okay.
And on the survey, the lot line map that you reviewed last month.
To answer your question, there is not a vapor barrier, but they did bring in new fill.
Mhm.
And they did air quality monitoring until it met all the air quality monitoring. So they did have air pumps that were pumping air and sampling for 4 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Scott, you want to just review the preliminary?
Sure, there's not a lot going on in the interior of the building in the way of renovations. And we're still working out the exact placement of all the items, but what we did do is a thorough code review to determine the number of occupants, which determines the number of the basic program is like any other cultural center, a small kitchen, a bar, place to dance and gather and have meetings and the requisite number of bathrooms. So we might slosh those bathrooms around to find a few, but that's it. The building, as you know, is eligible to be listed on the National and State Register of Historic Places. We did that for a specific purpose. That is to navigate a path in the existing building code. The state of New York allows us to leave exposed brick, for instance, and existing, they call it extant features. Without that designation, we'd have to cover up all of those features, which would be sad. So,
Are you talking about some of the industrial features in, is that?
correct. I mean, most notably the exposed brick exterior walls, you know, that's covered over. So we sought and petitioned New York State for what called a DOE, determination of eligibility. But as far as there are no plans to seek a designation, but the eligibility in and of itself allows for a path in the existing road for us to keep those features. And that has been the day of or the day after we received it. I sent a copy to planning, historics, and to building department, and that's been publicly posted on City Square. Municipal.
Now, I can't help but to refer to some of the proposals for the old project. I know, like some of the events that were, I don't know if you're able to speak about that, I'll have to ask over here, like, you're looking to have classes for your dancing, can you go into what your plans is? It's gonna basically mirror what you were looking to do over on the other site?
Pretty much, we're conducting bagpipe lessons now. We are conducting Gaelic language classes now. We sponsor a trad session, not on site. It was at the old Savannah, that's one time, or reconstitute match, so that might be there. We're going to be doing some step dancing class. And then we'll have meetings. That's about it.
Because right now you have your meetings at the White Eagle, right? Is that where this will be,
Yeah, we'll be
AOH will be going, this will be there?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Let's just have some logistics stuff. I had noticed about the lift. There was some conflicting issues between the site plan.
And what happened there is I got my site plan a few weeks before.
Okay,
Scott had a chance to take a hard look at, the lift and the rear stairwell. So I identified kind of the circle and arrow ADA compliant lift by architect. So I will make my site plan totally match
Okay.
Scott's plans for that rear entrance, which would include a lift.
Okay. And then the floor plans, there was a little bit.
Yeah, we have a clerical error with between the lower level
Okay.
and the upper level, but I can walk you through all of that. The intention is that you go from the parking lot directly into this vestibule.
Right.
There's a set of stairs that you can go up, or you can choose to use the platform lift, which is not a elevator, but it's an ADA compliant
Right.
lift that would get you up. Not quite a full story, but 2/3 of the story. And you'd be in the main space.
Okay.
And the equipment, the equipment will be above the flood regulations.
Okay.
That's a side mounted, there's no pit, there's no, yeah, no machine room or anything. It's electrical.
So no calling for an exterior ramp or anything.
Correct.
It would be too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know.
And the historic eligibility there, does that affect anything what you're doing inside?
No constraints whatsoever. It's the state recognizing that it is a building that that is eligible. And if they don't, unlike other projects that we brought before the board where we sort tax credits, we would go through the full state and federal listing, but that's not a part of the FCC.
And I know you mentioned in your comments too about flood regulations and, so the machinery for that lift would be, 2 feet plus probably 18 inches above the base flood. Because the new state building code is about 18 inches in tile areas
Okay.
above the normal 2 feet. So, so that'll be protected and installed above that elevation. It would be that at elevation 12, above sea level. The 8 foot elevation at the site is 8 feet above the main sea, and the building's at finished floor of the building at 15.56 shade.
What about signage? Has there been any thought or discussion on any type of signage for the building or?
Not yet. We
Not yet.
typically we'll let the sign company and the applicant work that out.
Okay.
And whichever sign company it is, let them make their own separate application.
And what about garbage, refuse, recycling?
Site plan, the first cut did not include an area for collection, which we would put down in this corner. So we wouldn't lose any parking. And that'll be on the revised set that will come following this meeting. There'll be a dumpster location with an enclosure.
Since you have that up, can we talk about like the public access? I mean, with the new code, one of the things that the code, form-based code and the waterfront overlay is looking to achieve is providing the access through where the cross streets come down in this area. So you've got a Bruin directly kind of across your one entryway. And so one of our comments was to provide for a easement through your property following that Bruin Street right of way towards the all the way to the trolley line there and create like a potential pedestrian connection or link there to that trail. And ultimately, when the neighboring property comes in for a development proposal, a portion of their land would be added to that easement area, creating a nice broad walkway or pathway to be ultimately developed.
And what you say should be accomplished by going around over to North Street, or does it have to go?
Yes.
Well, just the way the code reads public access easements. And that was one of the, we were just trying to figure out a way to do it respectfully of the site and, you know, with the sight lines, to follow those streets that are on the opposite side of the Strand.
Well, it creates some site security issues,
Yeah.
so I would defer to the ICC and their attorney to talk, to talk about that.
I'm not big at giving public easements. you know,
No, and.
With
you know,
private property, for a lot of reasons. And
Right,
one of them is security, another is insurance. There's a lot going on with public access easements. So, that was actually probably the thing when we had our internal meeting today, we probably talked about the most, is
Mhm.
that requirement under the form-based code, because I don't know that requirement is law. And I'm willing to, we can talk to the applicant about what they want to do if there's a place that's less intrusive or whatever. Or I can, we've certainly had this before. I could write a memorandum to, the council and to the board about, the nature of public easements and requiring them as part of the approval process.
But is that something that can be accomplished by North Street, via North Street? What is it you're talking about?
it's not, I mean, if you look at the code, way the code is written. There's one public access easement, the trading of the waypoint setback and shall be contain a minimum 12-foot continuous player trail. This is obviously to promote ultimately when all the properties get developed, you have that network of trail systems that will connect all together and you'll have that extended those extended access points. Site public access easement is required to provide public access to the existing street network and view corridors to Rondo Creek at the terminus of existing perpendicular intersecting public street right of ways. It would be the Bruin Street across the street there. So this, and we can discuss it further with the applicants and our corporation counsel if we were just applying the code.
Can there even sidewalks on Bruin Street there?
Yes.
Are there?
Well, going
There are
up the
none
road,
on- there are none on the Strand.
not on the Strand, but going up the hill.
Right.
I mean, I think it warrants further discussion, but I kind of agree with the maintenance issue, the liability. I just,
So what being proposed, it's on that property line adjacent to the next, running it down that property line, the easement?
I think what Sue's asking is to come through here.
We're talking about reserving 6 feet from this, and then when
Ultimately, from the other.
and then when the other
Right.
gets developed,
But
6 feet from that.
that will cut into your access into the parcel.
Yeah, and also would create a problem with the proposed refuse collection area. But
See, that kind of does not fit with this parcel.
May I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
How wide must this access be? Must it be 6 feet, 4 feet, 8 feet?
The code,
Says,
code says 12.
feet what?
Yeah, that is what is written in the city code. And so we were, that's why we were thinking to split it with the adjacent property would be the best way to approach this and accommodate it. In our notes, we also recognize that the new code only provides for one curb cut per parcel. This currently has 3. So that was another, reason why we suggested that was to be able to maybe remove one of those along the Strand, and that would, yeah, that would remove that issue. I mean, there's, some discussion, I think we can have further on it, but just trying to look at how it will apply with the new code requirements.
Well, I guess my question would be, those two accesses to the East Strand are important for the operation of the site. One or both would be closed to the public most of the time. But the existing industrial site for the site improvements in the building have already been constructed, does that give any?
Like, could you do one-way traffic flow versus two-way? And then you would have maybe that space to put a sidewalk in for public or pedestrian pathways.
Can we be ceding the 6 feet of our property to the city? Is that what you're saying?
Be an
We
easement.
would own it.
It would be an easement. No, you would still own it. It would just be an easement, public access easement. So, yeah, I mean, it's all of the properties along the waterfront as they get developed are going to be required to do similar. And actually in the old zoning code, there was a very similar structure as well, which is why you do see along the Maritime Museum, there's that pathway that runs along the water and that connects behind now the place there, where they bought the Rositas, that connects there behind there, and it actually extends to Old Savannah. So I mean, those were done in pieces over the years as those properties became developed. And
Well, the only concern here is that it doesn't get you to the water.
I understand that,
There's a
but it
large
does take you
Boston
to a
industrial
couple
site.
trail system along the trolley,
It
which
does
is,
get you to that.
right, right.
I have to go
Goes to the water.
So you keep referring to the access coming out of this street here. But this is our property here too. If we developed a strip here 12 feet wide on our property, does that meet your requirement?
The code, I think the code specifically requires the streets to continue across.
Right.
So
Well, there's a street.
The code
Yeah.
speaks to,
If you
Every
had more than
street-
one street, it would be more than one. Yes, I think that's the way it worded.
I think we'll have to convene on that issue.
okay, yeah, no, it needs discussion, I agree. So let's talk about some of the other comments.
The other big one that at least that I saw, you're asking for the fence to come down. The whole site is fenced now, 6 foot high.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the fence has been there for years, fence in the gate, and it was put up for the prior ownership. It is actually encroaching into the public right of way. So it was a question if you were going to make an improvement along there, if you were going to be replacing that, it would have to be located back on your property line. And it can only be 4 feet high along the street. So just know that,
We could leave it like it is though, right? Because it's pre-existing.
yeah, I mean, it's there, East Strand is going to be going through some improvements. I know timing that project. But know that could come down as part of that project.
Certainly, I think feeling was to work with the city on that issue in your future plans.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure how much of that pot of funds going to elevate
Yeah, I know it
the
goes,
streets and the
project
properties.
ends at North Street, so right now.
But this particular, at least most of the stretch of the Strand here is the least in need of getting boosted up.
Right, so the other issue, you know, and I don't know, again, is how the whole East Strand ultimately gets redesigned, but the encroachments that are there, which you've got a stoop that encroaches out into that public right of way, those kinds of elements will also eventually maybe be replaced with something else in the redesign.
I don't think there's.
So you need to just be aware of that. But the landscaping that you do show in the public right of way, we can't allow that to be a fully landscaped area. We do need to maintain that for pedestrian access, along the front. I mean, I do agree it's probably a nice feature, but we have,
Well, the only issue there is right now it's lawn.
huh?
Right now it's lawn. It's a grass strip
In front of the building?
from here to here.
All the way to North.
Yeah,
We must-
this is the only area that's not right here in front of the entrance. So
You can't add, I think you added shrubs and,
we just had
yeah,
a mulched area with some yews. We can take them out if you want, but if you're asking us to build a sidewalk there, that would be another discussion. And if you're planning to raise the Strand and do
Mhm.
significant improvements, it wouldn't make too much sense to build a sidewalk now, have to rip it out 2 or 3 years.
no, but we can't put obstacles in it.
So you don't mind if we just left this the way it is? Because we're not sure we'll be allowed to plan anything yet anyway until that DEC restriction is lifted. So, we can take this proposed landscaping out. But like I said, that is currently grass. Median. We will, again, remove these 2 spaces to get the 30 feet setback. That'll take our total parking down from 20 to 18. And we can keep going.
Does everybody understand why the parking, I mean, it was in the notes, so why the parking is being reduced because of setback requirements under the code? Do you, any plans to do any, bike parking?
We
Like that?
are happy to add bike rack to the site.
Okay.
Is BW still have any photographs?
I don't know.
Should be writing.
Where would the racks have to go? Where would the racks have to go? Anywhere around?
Wherever you want, I mean, if you
Can that go in the
put
30
them around the back by the back entry, it's probably, you know,
Well, could that go in the 30 foot or would that have to be in that setback? Yes.
that can go in the 30 foot.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to put them out front in the right of way, you just have to get the approval of the city engineer.
Okay, so we can look at this area or this area where we're removing.
Yep.
Okay.
Rating. Trail. Signage. Yeah, took open space. I don't know if you got any other questions?
I had it, as you know, you mentioned it in the review, we had it listed as a type 2 action for adaptive reuse. It also would be type 2 for less than 4,000 square feet of gross floor area.
Right, the only thing I was thinking about is that if we need waivers, it would kick it out of the type 2 and make it an unlisted.
For a waiver of,
Waiver for the curb cuts.
I don't know that makes it out of type 2. Why would it not get out of type?
Because I believe. Um. Speaker. Where it's consistent. With the 4,000 square foot, where it's consistent with local land use controls.
Yeah, that's the 4,000 square foot one.
Right.
The adaptive reuse doesn't have any of that language in it. It says if you're adaptive,
Yeah.
or you're using formerly industrial or commercial premises, that it applies, it's type 2. I think smart by DEC, because what DEC has said that they want is these buildings to be adaptively reused and repurposed,
Right.
because of less of a carbon footprint. You're not building new and preserving historic structures, things of that nature. So, and I mean, I would also say to the board too, there's a lot of issues that may be environmental issues under secret that are still endemic part of site plan. Visual, traffic, that they're all site plan issues. I mean, so it's not like we can escape review of things that will be important to the board if it was type 2 that they're going to consider. Does the board always have a public hearing for site plan? Is that? Okay.
Public hearing, if it's not required under the law, it's at the discretion of the board.
Let me go back to, just to reiterate that there's no employees here. This is all volunteer driven and it's, there's no regular hours. It would be on an event basis. And classes, those kind of things, scheduled meetings, but more like almost like a Elks Lodge kind of, as far as comparable.
What is your membership number?
Well, the, AOH is about 130 right now.
Good.
Or like everybody else.
Just a curiosity question.
Used to be good.
I'm still stuck in the public access section.
I think that's something we have to further flesh out.
I know, but I think part of the discussion, what I'm just thinking about now is you're gonna have a walkway going. Public access, that trail that goes along the tracks, you're gonna have to cross the tracks to get to it. Right? So. What goes in there, a crossing or what?
No, just, it's like,
Walk on the tracks.
yeah, it's like downtown.
Just say you're gonna cross
They
railroad
walk across
tracks.
the tracks all the time.
The question, has there been any discussion with Central Hudson? Parson?
I have not had any.
And does that access have ADA requirements to it too?
Yes.
There you go. Now you got to cross the tracks. I'm just stuck on that.
You cross the tracks further when you walk down North Street right there.
What?
You cross the tracks.
Yeah, but these was pavement there. They're
I
not
think
going
there's
over.
definitely some issues that want further discussion with my office.
Yeah.
So
So it's a pedestrian access easement, and then there's the two curb cuts in East Strand. You have to resolve with you.
Yeah, I mean. I
What kind of
didn't
waiver
really
is that?
realize there was one at North Street either.
Well, that would
But that's,
conclude.
is that,
That was a gate for the scrap metal operation.
yeah, so it's not,
But we would like to have the two existing curb cuts on each side of the building. That are there.
okay. So that would be a waiver.
Major or minor?
You wrote
I
a,
want to say minor. But give me a second.
So the major was in parking.
Oh,
in the 30-foot. But the two entrances,
Is there pretty good CEO make a determination on pre-existing non-conforming? Can the CEO, the zoning enforcement officer, make a determination on pre-existing non-conforming?
Well, I can tell you that it's been made in the past that it's a waiver, or one gets closed up, waiver, and then they come through the review process. Okay. If they also have questions on looking this up, I don't need to.
And the rest of the parcel will be like event space.
It's the minor waiver.
Yeah.
Dennis and Scott, minor waiver.
so that's a staff review.
Yeah, that's,
Well, we'll definitely follow up with Matt, on the easement issue. So. And then I guess should we request formally to be on the next board meeting or we're just, or
Automatically.
just automatically going on? Okay.
That's pretty, that's part of the notes, you're developing performance bond stuffing. That's
Yeah, once the limited site work that we can do is, put a bond estimate together. You want to include the lighting, building mounted lighting with that, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I see,
exterior.
no, can I ask the board what the feelings are about public hearing or no public hearing? No public hearing?
I mean, I haven't recommended one. I don't know that there's any other one.
So it's conceivable if we get our work done and into you and those issues with court counsel are reconciled, that we possibly get an approval at the next meeting?
Yeah.
And one last question, the historic Kingston waterfront, Costco LLC, I know there was some site development plans being proposed not that long ago, but were they talking about an easement?
I have not seen anything.
Nothing's coming yet, yeah.
No.
That's next door.
Yeah,
Parcel next
that's going all the way to the point of development.
Building land across the street.
Valor Oil.
Yes.
We're dating ourselves now.
Valor than Costco.
Any other questions from the board right now? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If you're this time, I'll make a motion that we, what is this, 4? Item, table item number 4, do I have a second? Second by Vince Archer. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Carried. Next meeting, Wayne, thank you. Thank you.
Next meeting is,
17th.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
Oh, no, that's all right. You don't have it.
We have a 4 or 5 sheet, but yeah. So moving into old business, item number 5 is.
You want to skip your the waiver again? You want to sit and, okay?
You're enjoying yourself?
I mean, whatever, if it can be quick, I don't want to jump.
I like that. Well, this will be. We're gonna jump ahead to item number 7, waivers. 111 Down Street, major waiver request to install 6-foot fence along property line where 4 foot is maximum. And it's section 405.14 I1N. Section block lot is 48.333-4-15. Transect zone T4N Ward 2. Eliza Edge and Henry Pfeiffer are the applicant owners. Are you Eliza?
I am.
Welcome.
Thank you. So interesting, everyone.
So yeah, we started putting together in our backyard a fence and then met someone told us that that wasn't gonna be possible. So you can see in another photos, I guess if you scroll down, we're just like proposing a backyard fence here. If you go, but it's actually 50 feet from the corner, the existing corner. So we don't intend to fence. Yeah, great. This is great. We don't intend to fence anywhere around the corner. There's about 50 feet from where the fence would start, the 6-foot fence. But apparently current code, because it's a corner lot, means you can't have the 6-foot fence along this sidewalk here. So that's why I'm here today.
So in your packets, you have the waiver checklist form. You need to go through that. Filled in, obviously, general information, the intent of the transact. The T part N is filled in there as well. So I think read that, go through the questions. I want you to answer those and then one
Do
year.
we have to verbalize each one as we go through?
You're going to have to answer yes or no or not applicable.
Yeah. We'll just go item by item now. The applicant has included a waiver request letter that clearly identifies and describes the waiver being proposed, accompanied by plans and or other visual representations as applicable.
So you guys have, I presume, looked at the Municolab site, looked at this application that's been on there, and Jim has submitted her reasoning and described the waiver. Also explaining that, I guess you're taking the chain link fence down and all of that as well.
Yeah, eventually we'll just cut that out.
Be nice.
Yeah, it's just sort of filled with poison ivy and Virginia creeper, so.
Okay, so that's a yes on that. We're going, yeah. In their letter, the applicant describes in detail why the waiver is needed and how the waiver request is consistent with the intent, design, and compatibility of the transect zone in which the project is located. Yes. Yes. Will granting the waiver contribute to the realization of the overall intent of the transect zone and result in an improved project which will be attractive and durable contribution to the transect zone? So they're removing a fence that's no longer allowed and installing something that is.
No, the fence that's there is fine.
Oh, we're going into the,
Chain link.
Because it's existing, it's
Yeah.
fine, but it wouldn't be if we put it in now, as I understand code, but it's the backyard.
It's more,
okay, so that is a yes. To support walkable neighborhoods and or mixed use centers, the project emulates the neighborhood context for how far the buildings relate to the sidewalk, how the facade is designed, and how the building interacts with the street.
I can provide a little context of like when we bought this house from the city land bank, it was unoccupied off the tax rolls and we bought it. We totally put love and care into it. It was actually like a squatter was living in it for about 5 years. So if it's any part to that, this has been like I would argue a benefit to the community in terms of the way it looks. The fence is just sort of this added little privacy to the home. But it's a hard question.
thoughts, board members, speak up.
Does it fall under the NA on this thing or is it?
It's a yes.
I would say, I would say yes, because it's the context of creating the connection of the building to the street.
The fence being the connection between the
No,
building?
it's where you're removing the one fence and then you're replacing it with another, but you're not.
You're opening
still
up
creating
this.
the context of the street. For the
Done this? Go yes. Go yes. The project supports a green and resilient future by, for example, reducing vehicular miles traveled, providing green infrastructure and/or street trees, and are including high-quality usable open space.
That would be not applicable.
The project supports incremental development patterns in its size and density and supports infill development or the reuse of existing buildings. That's an NA, right?
Yes.
That's a yes.
Hmm?
That's a yes.
We could have torn the thing down when we bought it, but we didn't. But related to fence.
Project supports the provision of a variety of housing types to support a range of income levels, age groups, and family units.
That's not applicable.
The project specifies street design that is walkable and bikeable and will reinforce safe and comfortable environments for all users.
I would say yes.
Okay, it looks like it passes. Okay,
All right, well, thanks everyone.
so that is our determination. There's no motion second to
Well,
this.
you, no, you have to make a
To
motion.
recommend, to recognize that.
Right, recognize the checklist and that.
All right, so at this time, there's no seeker or anything.
Thank you.
So there's seeker, this is a type 2 action. No further review of the board is required if that's with that. At this time, I'll make a motion that we approve the major waiver request for item number 7. And I want you to second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Please let me request one, sorry. Thank you. A lot of work. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, ready for motions now?
Yeah.
That's.
Thank you for everything.
Should it? It's just.
Just figuring along the street, you want it to be more feasible. Yeah. Is they just, they don't make here.
Yeah. Item number 5. It's 21 Elizabeth Street, and a portion of 67 Wolf Street. Request planning board to initiate a coordinated review and procedure for site plan and 3 major waivers to demolish the existing building and construct a new unit. Section block and lot is 56.184/1-12. Seeker determination, Transect Zone T4 and Ward 3, Ulster County, Kingston Schools are the owners. Maeda Construction is the applicant. Hi. Introduce yourself, please.
Tyler Farmer, senior planner, county planning department. Oil Funds Director.
And at this time, Andrew Harris will be recusing himself from deliberation from this, because of employment to the county.
Yes.
Okay. Are we just gonna do the,
Yeah, so
Resolution,
since
I mean,
we met
that's-
last month, the applicants have us and said that they would like to go through the coordinated review process. Again, listed action. So we did get a schedule A. We still have a couple of questions on that.
Okay.
So we can go through those. We're gonna need, the question that the only funding source we see here is the homes and community renewal or ownership. opportunity? Is that the only funding?
There'll be three main funding sources. First will be Affordable Homeownership Opportunity Program. The second will be philanthropic donation to cover a portion of the project, and the third funding source, which is really nice, will be the mortgages themselves.
Okay,
Yeah, so that would be,
It needs one involvement.
yeah,
yes, yes. it would be
Okay.
possible.
all right, so what do you need that?
Perfect.
And then that way more about tonight, obviously, and then, I had a question, about the DOS was listed, which we will include, but are they actually making a determination on the modular compliance? Or is that the building safety division that does that?
I think because they're modular, it goes to DOS, that's my
I
understanding.
mean, I'll keep that, maybe it's just a question that I.
Yeah, but they are sending the specific modular plan from the factory
Okay.
to from the state for approval for modular.
You could consider it ministerial, but it's better than notifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all the questions I had on that.
Any development with school district at all with?
Before we turn to that, I think the one that you saw that wasn't on there, that's interested is SHPO, even though we have a determination. That it's,
I might have added
oh, you
them.
might have got it, okay. Yeah, that's good. Wonder that, know that.
I mean, we're typically not considered an involved agency or a notification agency, but we always treat it as involved reporting.
No, I can add them. I don't have them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You have
the
the
other one.
determination from them already. Expected the demolition of the building, but it's always been.
Right.
In terms of the school district's continued coordination, 100% approval, in terms of support from the board itself. Perhaps, Don Garrison talked about this last month, but the recommendation from their council is a lease agreement at first and then a sale, but the sale has to be done through referendum. I think we talked about this at the site visit. So it is with their council right now drafting that. And then approval from the school board.
Okay.
With the plan to move forward with the
Give
lease.
time, anticipated timeline at all.
Or sooner rather than later, we understand that the board's interest on that lease agreement. And that it would be a continuing lease with renewal,
Right.
depending upon how long the school district can lease for. And then what we would do is go through the necessary referendum to acquire the property by easement.
Okay.
And we have the support from the board, we just need the support from the public in order to do that and set that up.
But you were asking about timeline from the school board on the
Yeah,
lease agreement.
right, on the lease.
Yeah, we're reminding them every couple of days, you know, they got a lot going on. I think beginning of the school year was, so it's a little tough, so now.
And that referendum would coincide with their.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the next
Right.
reference will be next fall. Be the earliest time.
Okay.
Yeah, we went through this when we acquired the Sophie Finn building. We had to go through a referendum and we
Right.
acquired it. So we've been
Okay.
through it before, we understand that.
Okay. Okay, any other questions?
Just, on our site visit, sorry. There was a question about why the porch is on the north side rather than the south side. And I discussed that with the architects and they said, just confirming, one, it is southern exposure for all the units for
The light.
heat, yes, light. And then the porch is on the north side to protect against exposure from wind. Other,
Okay.
in the winter time.
Okay,
That's
thank
what
you.
they said. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I have a resolution here. Resolution of the City of Kingston Planning Board to seek designation of lead agency for 21 Elizabeth Street, and a portion of 67 Wall Street. Section block and lot is 56.124-1-12 and 56.124-1-1 in the seeker process under 6 NYCRR Part 617. Whereas Medea Construction, the applicant, has submitted a completed short environmental assessment form to the City of Kingston Planning Board to demolish the existing building and construct a new 15-unit multiplex with supporting infrastructure and improvements, which is the action. And whereas the project is located at 67 Wall Street, section block and lot 56.124-1-12 and 56.124-1-1, Kingston, New York. And whereas the application was identified as an unlisted action under seeker, however, due to the number of agencies involved in the review, the board and the applicants are choosing to initiate a coordinated review to seek the designation of lead agency. And whereas a determination of the significance of the action on the environment must be made in order to comply with the New York State Environmental Conservation Law, which is the SEQR Act, and the regulations promulgated thereunder, the regulations by the New York Department of Environmental Conservation. And whereas the City of Kingston Planning Department is in coordination with the applicant, are identifying a list of involved and interested agencies based upon the information submitted. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Kingston Planning Board as follows. Section 1, that the action is determined to be an unlisted action as defined in 6 NYCRR Part 617.4 of the SEQR Act, and a coordinated review must be undertaken. Section 2, that the City of Kingston Planning Board desires to establish itself as lead agency in the environmental review process. Section 3, that the Planning Department is directed to circulate a request to all involved and interested agencies seeking concurrence with the designation of the Kingston Planning Board as the lead agency for the seeker review of the action. And Section 4, that this resolution shall take effect. This time I'll make a motion that we adopt this resolution. Any question on? No. Second by Chuck Polacco. Wayne Platt is a yes. Charles Polacco.
Yes.
Matthew Gillis.
Yes.
Vince Archer.
Yes.
Okay, this is approved, adopted.
I have
Yes, Nick.
just one question. When you do this, do you not normally, on coordinated actions that aren't type 1, do you normally file with DC, with regional director?
No.
Even if it's unlisted?
We have TDC.
Because usually, even for unlisted actions, even though it's not required, we normally file it.
I have them on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Was that those other table thing? Was it just a resolution? That was the-
No. Page.
Yep.
This page.
We're doing this one in that section. Next one?
Huh?
The next one will be going.
Yeah.
There is a thing.
What the record showing.
You like that lawyer term of this?
Smart.
All right. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Andrew Harrison rejoined.
Oh, one minute, there's a-
Around two. Yeah.
The only thing about you taking that. Put the date.
Works. Yeah.
Okay, item number 6, still under old business, 25 Frog Alley, request planning board to initiate coordinated review of the seeker for site plan for mixed residential development with some commercial workspace. Section block and lot is 48.314-1-12, seeker determination, Transect Zone T5N, Ward 2, GBC Kingston LLC is the applicant owner.
Yeah, this is basically the same. Since the last meeting, they reached out and said that they are interested in us doing coordinated review as an unlisted action. So they gave us a listing to start working off of for Schedule A. We've developed it. Questions on this one, that we double check with them if everything is all set.
All right. Resolution of the City of Kingston Planning Board to seek designation of lead agency for number 25 Frog Alley, section block and lot is 56.124-1-12 in the seeker process under 6 NYCRR Part 617. Whereas GBC Kingston LLC, the applicant, has submitted a completed short environmental assessment form to the City of Kingston Planning Board to construct a mixed residential development, the action. And whereas the project is located at 25 Frog Alley, section block and lot of 56.124-1-12, Kingston, New York. And whereas the application was identified as an unlisted action under seeker. However, due to the number of agencies involved in the review, the board and the applicants are choosing to initiate a coordinated review to seek the designation of lead agency. And whereas a determination of the significance of the action on the environment must be made in order to comply with the New York State Environmental Conservation Law, the SEQR Act, and the regulations promulgated thereunder, in parentheses the regulations, by the New York Department of Environmental Conservation. And whereas the City of Kingston Planning Department, in coordination with the applicant, are identifying a list of involved and interested agencies based upon the information submitted. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City of Kingston Planning Board as follows. Section 1, that the action is determined to be an unlisted action as defined in 6 NYCRR Part 617.4 of the SEQR Act, and a coordinated review must be undertaken. Section 2, that the City of Kingston Planning Board desires to establish itself as lead agency in the environmental review process. Section 3, that the Planning Department is directed to circulate a request to all involved and interested agencies, seeking concurrence with the designation of the Kingston Planning Board as the lead agency for the seeker review of the action. And Section 4, that this resolution shall take effect immediately. At this time, we'll make a motion that we approve the resolution for 25 Frog Alley. Andrew Harris for the second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Wayne Platt is a yes. Charles Palaco?
Yes.
Matthew Gillis?
Yes.
Vincent Archer?
Yes.
Andrew Harris?
Yes.
This is adopted. What are you gonna do with your time tonight? You're gonna be here so early.
Yeah, I know, I'm gonna. I'll have to figure it out then,
All right.
yeah, it's an early one night.
Yeah, it is.
And the sofa is that I don't have a vote anyway.
Yeah, like another one doing double header.
So we got one more item on the agenda. Okay, item number 8, discussion, letter of support request from planning board, letter of support for grant application to New York State Office of Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation for Historic Preservation Plan and Historic District Design Guide. Yeah, we can do that. This is my packet here. Okay.
Basically,
Yeah, it's cool.
it's a certified local government grant, that the city is seeking, parks, to establish, as Wayne was saying, a comprehensive historic preservation plan, plans the way for the design guidelines. So the Dear CLG Review Committee, on behalf of the City of Kingston Planning Board, I am pleased to extend our support to the City of Kingston's application for a 2025 certified local government grant to fund a 36 CFR 61 preservation consultant to craft the city's first historic preservation plan and concurrently create citywide historic design guidelines. The City of Kingston is on the traditional homelands of the Esopus Band of the Munsee Algonquin-speaking Lenape people. In the early 17th century, Dutch explorers established a small trading post on the western bank of the Hudson, and by the mid-17th century, the Dutch built the stockaded village of Wiltwyck, inland to the west. Kingston is notable for two 17th century armed conflicts between the Esopus people and the colonial Dutch settlers. Its 1777 designation as New York State's first capital, being burned by the British in 1777, and in the 19th century, being a leading center for brick, bluestone, and concrete production. Kingston is also notable for transportation via the D&H Canal, the D&L Railroad, and the Cornell Steamboat Company. Collectively, the city contains 300 years of architecture, culture, Native American, colonial Dutch, English, African, and more, and the Hudson River Valley community development across its urban corridors, formal industrial buildings, and residential neighborhoods. We understand that based on preservation consultant recommendations in 1987, 2001, 2014, and in the Kingston 2025 Comprehensive Plan, the city seeks to develop an equity-based historic preservation plan to addend to the comprehensive plan and establish citywide historic design guidelines to assist historic property stewards, developers, and the local government with appropriate rehabilitation treatments for the community's historic resources. Kingston's unique social, cultural, and architectural history warrants the development of a comprehensive, engaged, and equitable approach to preserving its heritage for the local community, New York State, and the nation. The Historic Preservation Plan and Historic Design Guidelines will provide the local government and residents with greater tools and a pathway forward for rehabilitating and maintaining valuable community assets for generations to come. Planning Board undertakes a broad variety of development projects which shape the municipality. Having additional guidelines and objectives for preservation will assist our decision-making process and reviews more respectful of the historic fabric and cohesive with community-based objectives. The City of Kingston Planning Board strongly and enthusiastically urges the Office of Parks, Rec, and Historic Preservation to support the City of Kingston's request for funding. Sincerely, Wayne D. Platt, Junior Chairman, Planning Board. They just need to make a motion to authorize Wayne to sign that letter. Do you agree with it? That's really all right.
So we did have a CLG grant a while ago to develop the historic guidelines. In fact, there was pamphlets made for that.
Yeah, we've had multiple, actually, the city has been a recipient of multiple CLG grants, certified local government program. At one point, yes, we did brochures and maps of the historic districts. We more recently did a intensive level survey of both the Wilbur and the Bukkake neighborhoods. And based on that, Wilbur is now designated as a local historic district. And we obtained another CLG grant to engage a consultant to undertake the nomination to the national and the state level for that district. So that is a project underway right now. This would be another CLG grant, and then we'll probably look to do Bukkake as well. So, or you're somewhere else. So, we have a motion to accept the letter and authorize the chairman to sign it.
Is he able to make that motion or do we?
When you do that,
I'll make it.
Okay.
Andrew Harris with the motion,
Doesn't it?
Matt Gillis with a second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye,
Okay.
opposed? Carried. All right.
Perfect. There you go. You want to sign that by yourself?
We have any other business for the body?
Nope.
Vince Archer with a motion to adjourn.
I said,
Matt Gillis with a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?